those who might be skeptical or who are not doing the work, you know, it's definitely beneficial. Definitely.
Now, when you first started out, you were just doing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, si, the whole scale, right?
Right.
And how long did it take before you just started focusing on just repetitions per chakra center?
Well, it was like after I had my first real intense experience, you know, it just kind of came to me to, you know, keep developing, till I got, I know that you had mentioned that I do 35, but I've actually took that up a little higher, so.
Yeah, his target goal is 60 per chakra.
Right, I'm trying to get high as possible, because one thing that I noticed is the more intense, or the more times that I focus on each particular chakra, the more intense the vibrations are, and so forth and so on. And so, you know, that, you know, you carry that energy with you. You know, it just doesn't end right there with the particular meditation that you're doing. You know, you carry that with you all day, every day. You know, it's like from that point on, this is where you vibrating at. So, you know, like I said, I'm continuing to do the work and try and get it as high as possible.
Now, hold that thought. When he says his first intense experience, what he's referring to is he was doing what he, you know, what I keep telling people don't do, which is taking me out of order. He was doing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, si, but he had not taken the salt bath. The night that I reamed the listeners for not taking the salt bath, he took it personally. He was like, oh, shoot, she knows I didn't do my salt bath. She's talking to me personally. He took it very personally. That night, when the show was over, he took his salt bath that night after the show. The next morning, when he did his do, re, mi sounds, he got something he had never gotten before, which is his body tried to actually lift up off the floor.
Right. It was, woo. I'll never forget that experience, you know. That was very intense, very, very intense, you know. Definitely, woo.
Yeah, so he emailed me. He was like, Yaffa, what is this? I mean, what's happening here? Because, you know, he didn't know what to make of it. He was kind of startled. He was like, I need to know before I continue anything, what's happening here? And I said, it sounds to me like you're trying to astral project. But a couple of days ago, now this was a few weeks back. This was about 2 weeks ago. This was around the time that we were supposed to have a show that didn't happen. No, it wasn't about 2 weeks ago. And then about a week later, when we were supposed to have the show and it didn't happen, we were talking. That's when he was up to 25 repetitions. A couple of days ago, he was at 35. And he had done these repetitions, and his body actually did levitate up off the floor. Right.
I actually levitated every part of my body except for my feet. And, you know, that was when I had called you, and I was trying to see, you know, about the energy centers that, you know, may be in the soles of your feet, if you remember.
I do, and that's exactly what he got to me. He's like, Yaffa, do you have any chakras to increase the chakra? I mean, do you have any mantras to increase the chakra centers at the feet and at the hands? And I told him, no, I think if you continue doing what you're doing, that will continue spreading it throughout your entire body, and eventually your feet and hands are going to just catch up with the rest of you. But because you've asked the question, the answer is going to come. Now, tell them about your vision. And we haven't even gotten to this stuff yet, as far as the things that you're seeing, because he's opening up his psychic eye. Is what he's doing.
Well, one of the things that I'm saying that is like I can see almost as easily as any object. You know, I can see the things around objects, like, you know, you can see, like, I guess you want to call it the auras of different objects, the auras of, you know, material things. You know, it's kind of like seeing the molecules that make up a particular object. You know, I mean, it's not as vivid as one can imagine, but at the same time, you know that you're seeing this, you know, for some odd reason, this light pole, is lighting up, or for some odd reason, this car that you're looking at is, it's not really looking like, things just not looking like they normally do. It's just like, it's kind of like seeing it seeing things turn into cartoons almost. It's very interesting, very, very interesting. That part is no doubt. But like I said, it's mainly just seeing auras. I'm seeing auras like clear as day, like really, really, like any and everything. You can see the light around it. And I don't know if that's a product of. Well, I'm assuming it probably is a product of, increasing that frequency.
That's exactly what it is. And this is really simple. It's so simple. You didn't have to skin any babies or kill any goats or cats or cows. You didn't have to sacrifice anything. You didn't have to shed anybody's red blood. All you need to do is shed the fluid or the energy, which is to bring in with force, bring in and let out the blood that is in the form of gas and fluid, that is this energy and spirit that is increasing because you're speeding up your chakra wheel just by repeating some simple sounds.
Right, and she's exactly right when she said that you can hear it. It is, and at the same time that you will hear it, you will be vibrating at that same. I mean, it's like she said, it sounds just like helicopters, like a bunch of them at one time, just like, ooh, that's why, like I said, that's why when, I had one of my experiences that I had that I actually lifted up, like I said, it was like helicopters, and I just kind of, like, felt free, I mean, it's just, ooh, talking about it is kind of, brings the feeling to mind, so, kind of,
Now, let me add this too. Remember I said when you go back and catch up on all the shows, you get clear on the words, the concepts. You get clear on, before you start asking for stuff, know what the heck it is you really want before you ask for it. Before he started listening to the show, the brother said, Yaffa, I wanted some of everything. I wanted all kind of stuff. He said, and after I listened to the show, and I'm all caught up. I done watched all the tubes in the order you said. I've listened to every show in the order you said. Some of them I went back and listened to again, especially when we didn't have the show on the 19th. That gave me time to kind of, refresh some stuff. He said, but now that I understand what you're saying, I can't think of a single thing that I want. And it's to the point that I have to watch what I'm thinking and watch what I'm saying, because as I amplify my the frequency of my vibration, or the rate at which I'm vibrating, I'm starting to find that dang near everything I'm wanting and requesting and putting out there, no matter how small, even down to an incident involving 4 pennies, happens almost immediately, instantly, when I say it and think it. Give them that one. Share the thing with them about the pennies.
Well, that was very interesting too. I was at work, and the work that I do, I deal with a lot of customer type things where they deal with money, blah blah blah. But I was at a gas station, and I was standing in line, and I had some change, and I was just buying a bottle of water or what have you. But I had some change, and I didn't want to break my dollars. So I was like, well, damn, I'm like a few pennies short. So there were 2 people in front of me, and I'm sitting here to myself like, man, I need this much change in order for me to do blah 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 blah. So, the first person that was up there, they left, and they, left 2 pennies up there. So then the next person they left 2 pennies up there. So I'm calculating in my head, dealing with, the taxes that they have on all the items that you buy. So I'm thinking, I'm going to need, 4 pennies before I got up there. So when I got up there, finally, like I said, when he rung it up, I needed 4 pennies. It was $1.39. I had $1.35, and it was, it was just right there. I know that's like a really simple way to look at it, but, I was thinking small. So it happened like that, But, just the whole idea of manifesting things that come to mind is as you develop your energy centers and your energy levels and your frequency, that thought process that you have, it is really, really going to be important, because the things that you think about, whether they be negative or positive, have the ability to happen, like, quickly, and I know, like I said, a lot of the things that I think about, I have to really, really be careful with it, because, like I said, it happens so fast, like bam, bam, bam. You just be thinking about something, then boom, and it's so blatant, I guess, maybe a good word, but it just happens, and it's right there, and you will recognize it. And like I said, that's why I know, me personally, I watch how I think, and that's why. When it came down to, putting the things in the energy bubble and sending it out and all of that, it's kind of difficult now, because, like I said, before I had all of these ideas about material things that I wanted, then afterwards, and after going through all of the things that I went through doing the energy work, and then getting to the point where I would, or where I could think about something material that I wanted, it's like
irrelevant.
Really, it's like, really, like, what really do I want, out there? I mean, it's like nothing.
Exactly. Now, don't get the brother wrong. It's not that he didn't have the 4 pennies. He didn't want to get out of line and go back to the car and go get this money because he was in a hurry. So it just happened that he was needing 4 cents, kind of knew before he got to the counter. That's that whole being so expanded in your energy field that you kind of see the future. That's that foresight. But, he knew beforehand as he was standing in the line, man, I think I'm going to wind up being 4 cents short on this. And he got up to the counter and the 4 cents were laying there. One customer left a penny or 2, and the other customer must have left a penny or 3. But whatever the case may be, when he got there, the 4 cents were on the counter and he was good to go. And that's just minor. I mean, the brother's out. He's at a point now when he wants. Should we tell him about the gym, or should we tell him about the weather when you run and how you want the weather to be, what you want to share with, because we don't want to give them so much that they can figure out who you are.
Right. Well, like I said, that's like, like I said, that goes back to your thought process. Even on that level, when you think about, how you want your environment to be, even that transforms the way that you think it. I know, like I said, I'm an athlete, so, a lot of the things that I do, it involves me being outside. So, I always, want the weather to be a certain way this day or something like that. So, like I said, it all goes back to how you think. It could be raining hard, and I can sit and really think it through about how I want, the weather to be, and it happens, and I know, like I said, for those of you who may be a little skeptical, who might not believe in yourselves, or, whatever the case may be, like I said, I'm proof of it, and, if I knew any of you guys or whatever, I would definitely prove it to you. But, like I said, all I can say is that, do the work. You will find that a lot of the things that happen to you and happening because you want them to happen is all because of the fact that you're doing the work. So, that's all I can stress to you.
A lot of things that are happening because you don't want to happen are happening because you're not doing the work. A lot of the things that are wrong in your world are wrong because of the things you think and the things you say. For example, I don't give a damn about going to jail. Fuck the police. I don't mind. I'll do my time. Then you look up next day or next week, your ass is in jail. You just spoke yourself right into that scenario. You have to watch what you say and how you think. People be on some whole other stuff, and they don't understand a lot of what's wrong in your world is you. It's your stinking thinking, so clean it up. I think the sister has an emergency, which means we can't take any calls. Hold on, I don't know if we're going to be ending the show. Oh, you know what? I don't know how that's going to go because I got a text from my switchboard operator and I got a call from another individual.